Wake Up Call DT, where you're listening. You're watching on Facebook.com/Wake Up Call DT and on YouTube.com/Wake Up Call DT. Also being shared on Facebook.com/Live Now DT. And we appreciate your patience this morning as my annoying moment of the week for tomorrow has already been decided, courtesy of technology. What is going on with technology? Is everybody still home? Does the internet still have 5 billion people on it in the morning? Stop looking up recipes for dinner tonight and let us utilize the... And where are we as a society and a country where the internet runs slow? And why do I pay $80 a month for internet that is spotty? It's ridiculous. You know, I've seen it when I was at traditional radio. There was one time the computer would just shut itself off when I was at the one station it's craziness. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I love the internet for the fact that I could get out to everybody in the world. What I don't like is that there's people that control the internet and decide where things go and whatnot. I love when you call them and you're like, can I get a discount on my $79.99? They're like, well, if you upgrade to business class, you can pay $129.99. I was like, did you hear anything that just came out of my mouth? Are you on drugs? So, welcome to the show. I have thoughts this morning. I just can't stand it. You know, that's what Corona did more than anything. It affected the internet. Did you know that viruses could affect the internet? Well, that's a trick question. But you know what I mean. Not the coronavirus. Anywho, very, very happy to be here with you inside the Cafe Kubal Studios. Mon Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, proudly bringing you my two awesome guests today. Jason Lucas from PR to the Press. He's been all over the world of sports, and he's going to talk with us today about the Orlando Predators, as well as the Kurt Warner movie that's coming out with the man who is the lead in Shazam. So we'll talk about that, and of course, we'll get into the Tampa Bay Lightning repeating, and then in hour number 2 at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll be talking with Dave Pasiak on the current NBA Finals between the Suns and the Bucks. Welcome, Jason, to the broadcast after that intro that I had no idea was going to happen today.
What's up, Dan? Good morning.
You know, what I like about today's show is that right before the show, you and I were reminiscing about the music that we love. You know, like, the 80s, the 90s. I grew up on, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I was so spoiled. Up until Mbop, the world was good. And after that, this is the thing, okay? I'm not mad at the Hanson brothers. I know that, their music wasn't bad, but their most notable song is Not Even a Human Word. So, everything between, 60 whatever to Mbop, it was good. And now music is, it's good now. I listen to country now, but it's different, and I miss it. And you and I grew up when music was beautiful, and I know that has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today, but now all the songs are, it's in my head. I was singing it in the studio, and I want to reminisce a little bit this morning about when music used to be really, really great.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my sisters had that Mbop CD, and all I ever wanted to do was Mbop that thing right out the window, so
You should have. Yeah, I remember my cousin, she was like, oh my gosh, you have to listen to this new group. And she played Spice Girls, and she's like, do you like this song? I'm like, no. And she went to another song. She's like, what about this one? I was like, no. And then she played another one. She's like, what about... I was like, stop. No. I don't want to listen to the Spice Girls. And so, I remember being on the radio, and I did a show called Rewind to the Present. And I played songs from, whenever, and then came all the way to the present. And it literally was when I hit 90, 95 or something like that, because I played the top 10s plus 2 bonuses, and the top 10s in most years were really, really good. Like, if you go back and I'm just going to pick a random day. I'm going to do top 10 songs. Hold on. Top 10 songs of 1992. Okay, and I'm going to let you know what they were, because it's gonna bring you back in such a way that's going to make you want to jump back. I'm actually wearing, and it's kind of funny how we did this, because I didn't wear the shirt because of this, but it worked out. I'm wearing my shirt that says "Take Me Back to 1985," and it's got the DeLorean from Back to the Future on it. But perfect. So this was the Billboard year-end Hot 100 singles of 1992. Okay? No, I'm going to start at 10. Number 10, Just Another Day by John Cicada. Love it. All for Love, Color Me Bad. Under the Bridge, Red Hot Chili Peppers. My Lovin', You're Never Gonna Get It. Love it. En Vogue. Tears in Heaven, Eric Clapton.
Yes.
Baby, Baby, Baby by TLC. Save the Best for Last by Vanessa Williams. Jump by Criss Cross. Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot. And and End of the Road by Boys to Men. Like, you know, and then we have Shanice at number 11. I Love Your Smile. Love that song. Black or White is on here. Achy Breaky Heart is on here. Life is a Highway by Tom Cochrane. Who else here? Remember the Time by Michael Jackson. Like, this was Billboard back in the day. I mean, no offense to music today, but y'all need to get your what together, because it ain't there. And it used to be really, cheapers. Look at Freak Me by Silk in 1993, number 5. Like, all I'm saying is, if you got a lady and you're romanticizing the lady and you need jams, your jams are in the 90s. And so they're in the 90s and the 80s. If you have a playlist for a romantic candlelit dinner and dancing and all this stuff, you're going to seriously, Silk, Boys to Men, come on, man. So I know that after the show today, all I'm doing in the studio is playing this music, because it's already been decided for me.
Yeah, when you think about it, every wedding you go to now, it's just a lot of 90s music.
Well, yeah, and then you play the new stuff, and what is the new stuff? What is new pop? And you're not going to play, I don't know. I just feel like, who was your favorite back in the day? Did you have like a favorite jam? Like, if you were bringing out your beautiful, wonderful wife, Kristen, shout out to you, lady. If you were bringing her out on a date today, and you came back to the house and there were like rose petals everywhere and there's candles everywhere and the kids are being babysat and you guys can just like have a nice romantic evening, what songs are you playing in the house? I gotta know.
So Bryan Adams, Everything I Do It For You.
Okay.
Would be like probably the top one. What was that old song? It's not Soundgarden. It's Savage Garden. I'd play some Savage Garden.
Okay.
Yeah. It's funny because it's been so many years that I've forgotten a lot of those bands, like what they were called and stuff. Because, like, I was more into, like, rock, like Limp Bizkit, Metallica, all that kind of stuff. And then, I don't know, the romantic stuff I didn't play too much.
Well, the thing is like, there's just, like, going back in Silk, I forgot about Silk, like,
yeah.
So there's so many good songs that I totally forgot existed. And, that's kind of the beauty of all of this, is that, going back and checking it out. And that's the beauty of YouTube, which Wake Up Call is on. Hello. YouTube.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be here. But it gives, YouTube is the thing. And the beauty, what I love about YouTube so much is when I can't remember the name of a song, I just type in I type in the lyrics and eventually I find the song. And so that's the cool thing too, is I'm like, oh man, because I'm notorious for hearing a song, loving it, wanting to look it up, and totally forgetting its name. And I'm sure a lot of people are, but YouTube is so good at being like, yeah, okay. I'm like, I don't know the name of the song, but I know that that at one point in the song, he says something about a carrot, and YouTube's like, oh, that's that song by LL Cool J, and I'm like, good job, guys. Great job. So, but yeah, speaking of songs and connecting back to things in YouTube, YouTube plays a lot of movie previews, and one of the things I wanted to talk with you about here with Jason Lucas this morning, PR to the press, he's been all over the world of sports, and he's seen it from multiple angles, which gives us a great opportunity to have awesome conversations all the time. And he's one of my best friends, and it honored me with the ability to be an uncle to two beautiful nieces here on earth and one awesome nephew up in heaven. So Jay-Bird, the Kurt Warner movie, American Underdog, that was released, the preview for it, we got to see it, which was really cool. Got to see what the preview looks like and whatnot. What's your take on this Well, I mean, first and foremost, the fact that somebody felt like we needed to really tell the story of Kurt Warner. And I mean, you and I know it. We know a lot about it because we grew up during it. But a kid now may not know his story. Why do you think that they did it? And what are your thoughts on knowing that we're going to actually see this American Underdog movie in theaters in December of this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just going to be very inspiring for a lot of people to watch. Kurt Warner, for those who don't know, was working at a grocery store, a Hy-Vee grocery store out there in Iowa, when the coach of the Barnstormers found him and brought him out to try out for the team, and he ends up being one of the best quarterbacks in the Arena Football League, and in those days. And I, of course, being a young Orlando Predators fan, got to see him play. I think it was like 97. It was like right before he went to the Rams. I got to see him play and beat my Predators in the old Amway. So it's going to be a great story. I think they've done a very accurate storytelling job. The jerseys look great. Everybody was commenting in one of the boards I'm on about the Iowa Barnstormers jerseys look great. They nailed them. So I'm really looking forward to the movie, Dan. I haven't been to the movies in a long time, but it takes something like this to get me there. But I'll definitely have to check out the Kurt Warner story. It's pretty just crazy to think everything he went through, from the grocery store to being an arena guy, and those arena guys only made like $200 back then, to the NFL and winning the Super Bowl. So it should be an unbelievably inspiring story.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's kind of, I mean, his story really is the story of anybody can make it. And, the story of never giving up on your dreams, and the story of, I mean, in all honesty, faith, hope, and love. He had faith in himself. He had hope in his dreams, and that behind me in the studio, there's a sign that says hope makes the impossible possible. And, I've kept this sign here. My mom got it for me when I had my first apartment out of college. And I've had to look at this sign, I can't tell you how many times. And how many times, my heart needed that sign. And so, being able to just turn around and look over my shoulder, that's what it is. Faith, hope, and love. And, and love for himself. He had this belief and this trust. And I'm sure he had down moments. I'm sure he had tough moments. I'm sure he had moments where he thought, there's no way that this is going to work out. And he just kept with it, and he kept at it, and he kept after it, and he did all that he could to get to where he is today. And, and really showed us all that we can do it. We can succeed. We can, we can reach our dreams. And I think it's, I mean, I love his story because his story is my story. His story is your story. I mean, you and I have been through a lot, and we've been through different things, but we've been through a lot of stuff. And our hearts, for whatever reason, professionally and personally, our hearts have been through so much turmoil. And what have you learned about your own kind of underdog story and not giving up? Because we've seen each other through a lot of things, and obviously never wanted to see each other through any of this stuff, never wanted this to happen, but things happen to you, things happen to me. What can you say about your own journey?
I mean, for me, it's just it's like Kurt was saying when he was in that behind the scenes video there, just about the roadblocks along your way. Everybody's got their hopes and their dreams and their things they want to do, but there's a million roadblocks ready to stop you. So taking every roadblock with keeping your motivation and keep moving forward and keep trying to strive for that dream. Just finding a way to make it happen, no matter what it is, no matter if it's you want kids with your wife, but you have fertility problems. We went through that, just going through that, obviously losing Carter and everything that it took to get our girls. We had to have another surgery to be able to keep the girls in. So, I mean, there's roadblocks everywhere. Looking to trip you up. We wanted to be parents. And that's kind of, what it took to get there. And it's just willing to do what it takes. I think more than anything, willing to put the work in, or get this or get that, or do this or do that. All the different things that you have to go through to get to what you want to be. So, If you want to own a house, you got to go through saving money, building credit, doing all the stuff. There's roadblocks along the road of that. There's, your car breaking down or whatever it could be. A million different things will stop you from getting to your dreams. It's having that hope, like you got right behind you there, that hope that you can get there and that you will succeed and one day you will have what you want.
And how do you stay with it? I think that's the question that a lot of people may be asking this morning that are watching and listening to the show. And, I ask the question sometimes, I'll look back and say, how the heck did I stay with it? And I mean, how do you stay with it? Because, sometimes, and here's the thing too, I mean, you're a married man, and so sometimes it may have felt like you loved your wife more than she loved you, or she loved you more than you loved her, that somebody had to pick up the slack at certain points, and certain things had to be a certain way. I think it's important to kind of tell that story of things aren't always perfect, things aren't always pretty. How did you know that, you and Kristen were the people to do this, to be together, knowing that sometimes one person is ahead of the other person at certain points?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was just saying about the ability to put the work in, because relationships they're not something you can be lazy going into. You can't go into a relationship and be like, all right, the second I don't like something, I'm out. The second, oh, she smokes, I'm out. Oh, she does this, I'm out. Oh, she does that, I'm out. You gotta be willing to work on stuff, and that's where I think that set her apart from anybody else I had dated was, just the ability to say, hey, I didn't like that. Let's talk about it. Let's try to make it better. Let's see what we can do. Like, you wouldn't believe how much I clean the house now. And it's still every day she drives me more to clean the house more and to do more things. I installed some lights in our house that I would never think I'd get up on a ladder and do stuff like that. Painting, all sorts of stuff that I do now that I would have never done before. So she always drives me to be better. And I think that's more than anything. I'm always right behind her with her job and believing in her. She didn't want to go be a waitress or a bartender, the things that she does now. And she does amazing now and makes amazing money because she didn't quit and she faced her fear and just did everything. And, I was right behind her the whole time telling her she could do it. And that's kind of what you got to do. You got to get your greatest cheerleader and the person that's always going to be right there with you when you're going through everything, the person that just they don't leave you. They stay right there and they'll work on anything you need to work on to make your relationship work.
Beautiful message coming this morning from Jason Lucas, hanging out with us inside the Cafe Kubal studios here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And the beautiful message of Kurt Warner's story as we rope it all back, the American underdog and the beauty of being an underdog. I know what it's like. I call it being a redheaded stepchild. So, I'm totally fine with it. I started my business being an underdog. I've been an underdog my whole life. And, it's whether it's because I played basketball and I was only 5'8", or, starting my own business, or being the young gun that came to the radio station and I ruffled feathers because I, pushed myself to get every credential and talk to everybody I possibly could. And that made people unhappy because I was supposed to know my role. And my role is whatever God gives me, not what man gives me. So it's, we learn about this underdog, and you just keep going. I mean, Kurt Warner, for goodness sakes, this man was told no by the NFL. He goes and plays in arena football. I mean, this is a guy who, and he was getting older. I mean, I'm sure that there were people that love him to pieces that probably said, hey, it's time to give up. It's time to hang it up. It's time to stop, As people that love him saying, listen, we think you're wasting time. And he just kept going, and he kept believing, and he kept doing it. I mean, you and I got to see him win a Super Bowl. I mean, we got to actually watch, the greatest show on turf, arguably. And Roland Williams, who played tight end for Syracuse, he was on that team, and I got to speak with him recently about all this. And, I mean, for you to be able to see this, and, what did it mean to you? Because we're watching a movie, but we already know what happens. We knew about the guy that was in the grocery store. So, I mean, to see this really come to life, how cool is that for you? And what did the Kurt Warner story do for you back in the day? Did it do did it do anything when it was actually happening in real life?
I mean, I think it's the coolest thing to hear that he just had an everyday job, just an everyday grocery store stock guy, and was able. And listen, in the Arena League, that's a lot of the guys' stories. That's it was always cool. I was just telling Kristen a few minutes ago. It was always cool to know who's the guy that works at the tire shop, who's the guy that works in real estate. You never know what these guys do during the day. You only see them on game day as a fan. So, like, unless you go down the field and meet the guys after the game, which the Arena League allows you to do, it's so awesome because you could go down there and talk to the guy and be like, hey, what do you do during the day? And you get all sorts of answers. You just wouldn't even believe what some of these guys do during the day because they're just regular Joes just like you. And that's kind of what endeared the league to the working man and people, in Iowa where Kurt Warner was playing for them. Places like that where everybody works hard. It's a blue-collar league. They were Iron Man. They played both sides of the ball. But for me, his story, I think the greatest part of it, Dan, and I don't know how they're going to get this in the movie, but I didn't see anything where he's wearing an Arizona Cardinals jersey. And I think that, to me, is one of the most inspiring things that Kurt Warner was kind of back at that point in his career. And was sent off, just cast off basically from the Rams and others. And he took the Cardinals to the Super Bowl and had them one Santonio Holmes ridiculous catch in the corner of the end zone away from beating the Steelers in the Super Bowl and winning another one for, of all teams, the Arizona Cardinals. So, I mean, this guy definitely did a lot of stuff, a lot of amazing things that you would have stacked the chips and said there's no freaking...
Believed in himself, and I'm sure he had his moments, and I'm sure we're going to see his moments, but he kept going, and he kept getting after it. And like you said, are we going to see those Arizona Cardinals? Because he didn't do it once, he did it twice. He brought the Rams to the Super Bowl, he brought the Cardinals to the Super Bowl. And when I got to do ESPN Dream Job at ESPN The Weekend down at Hollywood Studios in Walt Disney World, and I won it, in that set that we got to do, when I got picked out of the crowd, and then I actually had to go on stage and broadcast, and I won it in front of Al Jaffe, who it was the guy that hired and fired at the time at ESPN, and I was in front of Charles Tillman, the cornerback for the Bears, and Vernon Davis, the tight end for San Fran. When I got to experience all of that, we got to pick our video, and of the 3 videos, I picked that video. I picked the Super Bowl video with Larry Fitzgerald and that big time touchdown, and the fact that I will never forget looking at my dad and seeing how much time was left on the clock. It was like 2 minutes and something. I was like 2:02 or 2:04, and I remember looking at my dad saying, "Yes, Arizona got the touchdown, and I wanted them to win." And Larry Fitzgerald got in, and I said, "But there's way too much time on the clock."
Yeah.
And but I mean, you're right. Kurt Warner didn't just bring the Rams and win a Super Bowl. I mean, this guy went to another team. And you think, okay, he's washed up, nobody cares, whatever, his story's old news. And he goes to Arizona, and he leads them to a Super Bowl. And, and granted, they didn't win in the last couple minutes, thanks to, I think, Santonio Holmes doing the tippy toes in the end zone. But beyond that, I mean, for goodness sakes, you bring 2 teams to the promised land. So, and at the age that he did, and what that means in sports, because, you might be 33 in life, and that's considered old in sports. So, I think you're absolutely right. I hope that they do show some Arizona Cardinal love, because for goodness sakes, he didn't fail the Cardinals either. I mean, he did so many things along the way to make you stop and say, how could anybody fail? How could anybody quit on their dreams? Those 2 words make me want to throw up anyways, but how could anybody do that knowing, look at what he did, look at his life. And I'm just amazed, and I'm mesmerized, and I can't wait to see it. I'm sure this is a movie that's going to make me cry, but because I show my emotion, and I love it because I know what I do every day, and I know why I do it. And I feel that and I sense it, and I get it, and I know it. I get it. I can stand in a room with Kurt Warner and not know him and say, hey, I did this stuff that, when I started my company, people said, what are you doing? why would you leave traditional radio? Like, on purpose, why would you leave? And I said, it's just, it's not that. I said, I have to do things better. My bosses were not respectful. My bosses were not moral. My bosses lied. And, they took a ton of, people don't tell you this, like, you have to make your own money. And then, in radio, your bosses take a lot of that from you. I could have applied for food stamps at that time, and they didn't care about my show. They didn't care about what I did. I wasn't respected inside of the building. And I knew that if I was going to do things, I needed to do them my way completely, God's way completely. And there was no God in that building with certain things that went on, and there was no me. It wasn't me. And Jason, I mean, I tell everybody this, and it's true. I started my company with 27 cents in my pocket and $103 in my bank account. And, and my parents were there in the beginning, and I moved in with my grandmother at one point, and I helped her out. There was a time when I lived in Florida that I either was going to, I had to pay for rent, and I didn't have enough money to pay for rent and the light bill that we all shared and groceries. And so for 2 weeks, I ate maple and brown sugar oatmeal every day, and I ate Nutri-Grain bars. And I don't remember how I got through some of it. I just barely paid rent. I worked 3 jobs before I ended up getting injured. And when I got injured, I couldn't work I could only work one job kind of somewhat. I couldn't work another one of the jobs, and the other job I had to stand up on my crutches and just kind of stand all the entire time. I remember everything I went through to just do it. And even going through all of that, my boss down there had absolutely no respect for me. And then, and I had to change all types of stuff. Then I came back up here, and I got promised something, and they didn't sign a contract, Jay. And as well as I know, when people's handshakes, a lot of people's handshakes don't mean anything anymore. Right. And so they have to sign a contract. And it was the last time, really, I mean, outside of a very small people that I trust, but I said I'll never do this again without a contract, and they lied, and I went through all of that. And to go through all of that adversity and then start my company and literally know that I had to build it out of the air in front of my face. There was nothing there. I didn't have a radio signal. It was, how am I going to get on the internet? Where am I going to go? How am I going to do it? And there were so many different iterations of it. And now I'm sitting here today, and it's 9 years plus, and just had the 9-year anniversary on June 12th of 2021. And it's a tangible thing. If I said, hey, Jay, I need you to cover the show for the next 2 days, there's a tangible means of making that happen. And none of that existed before. Right. So if I can tell anybody anything, it's when where I was, where people were trying to hold me and suffocate me and keep me underwater, look at where I am today. And where you were a few years ago and just had the 7-year anniversary for Carter, and now you're a dad of 2 little girls. You can't give up on what you believe in. And when you have it in your gut and you have it in your soul and you have it in your heart, you have to trust it, because your mind is a battlefield for real, though, and it will fight you on everything. But your heart is going to tell you what's at your core, and it's going to tell you what you're capable of doing. And you and I would not be where we are today if not for being underdogs that believe that we could win the game, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, man, you covered a lot there. I don't even know if I can really expand on that. It's incredible. I mean, we've all been there. I think anybody listening, it's probably been there, eating ramen noodles or whatever you had to do just to make sure you ate that day. And yeah, I mean, scraping by to pay rent. I can definitely remember those days, and just making sure that you worked enough hours so that your check was like just enough to cover rent, and then just enough to cover a little groceries and a couple of bills, and then just hope and pray and hang on for 2 weeks until the next check comes. So I think everybody hears you on that one, brother.
Yeah, and especially now. And listen, we've all been through a lot. And we've definitely taken a lot from the last year and a half, I hope. And where we go from here is up to us. And if I can say anything about life, it's you have to be willing to live it. And, you can't just get by coasting. And, I'm sure you can for a little while, but you have to be willing to live it. Not survive it, not die in it, but you have to be willing to live your life. And waking up every day to me is a blessing. And on my hardest days where I don't want to get out of bed, I get out of bed. And, it's because you have to. You have to find a way to find a way. And that's the beauty of the story. That's the beauty of what life has to be. You have to be willing to try. I put up a post, for those of you that are on my Instagram, at wakeupcall_DT, and I try to put up inspirational stuff every time. And anytime there's a quote and my signature is underneath it, that's from me, obviously. And I put up something, and I'm sure somebody put up something similar to this in the past, but it was something on my mind and in my words and in my heart. And I put, without risking something, you can never seek to gain anything. And that's the truth. Those that are not willing to take risks, some people, calculated, obviously, but those people that are not willing to take risks never have rewards. And Walt Disney took a risk. Kurt Warner took a risk. Jason Lucas took a risk. I took a risk. And, Mother Teresa took a risk. There's so many people that have taken risks in life in hopes that something would become better. And, it's, you don't get Harry Potter and Walt Disney World and Marvel Studios. For goodness sakes, Marvel's, of the 23 movies they've made, the least grossing movie in America was $135 million. The most was over $800 million. And this is a company that filed for bankruptcy in 1996. People forget, Marvel Studios today. Marvel Studios in 96 was nothing. Hence why they sold the rights of X-Men and Deadpool and all that and Fantastic Four to 20th Century Fox, and why they let Sony have Spider-Man, because they didn't have any money. And now they have more money than most. So, I think, Jason, what people forget about the stories of the successful people is so many of us successful people that continue to be successful, we all got punched in the mouth. And sometimes we still do, but nobody started perfect. Nobody started as a billionaire. Nobody started with, Walt Disney was not some mogul that, just went and bought a bunch of land and smoked a cigar and let everybody else do the job. This is a guy who really built, I call him the richest dead man ever. And, it's I think people forget that in every single story, it wasn't pretty at one point.
Yeah, that's exactly true. And like we have on tap today, talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning here in a minute, it really wasn't pretty for them always either. I was telling you that story earlier about the owners and the owner. The one owner was like, hey, I'm not going to come to any games for 8 seasons, and nobody's even seen him or even knew that he existed to buy the team from him. And that team came from all that to what we saw last night.
Yeah, and seeing that happen, and I want to get to that here before we let you go this morning. What is your take on the Tampa Bay Lightning? Back-to-back champions, did it in less than a year's time. In a normal year, it feels like the Stanley Cup. When my Ducks won it in 2007, I literally felt like they hoisted the Stanley Cup, skated around with it, and 2 weeks later we're back at practice. And that's in a regular year. And in this COVID shorten and then start the season earlier and blah, blah, whatever, to try and even everything out now and be back to normal by 2020, the end of 2021, 2022. So what is your take on the Tampa Bay Lightning and the fact that they won not once but twice, and that they did it amidst all of this? And it kind of defeats the argument of, if you made it deep in the playoffs, you're not going to be successful when the season starts quicker, because obviously the Tampa Bay Lightning did it all over again. So from zero to hero, what can you say about a team that was a laughing stock, just a few years back, maybe a decade or so ago, people didn't even regard the Lightning as a real team, and now they're back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, and Dan, it's really crazy because the Lightning just became the first team last night to ever have a goalie close out each series during the playoffs with a shutout. So 1-0 win last night, and he shut out every other team in the final game of those series along the way. So crazy for Andrei Vasilevsky, the best goalie in the world, as they called him at the end of the game, to be part of the Lightning. Man, I just remember being there when they drafted Steve Stamkos so many years ago. I was at a Tampa Bay Storm game, going back to arena football days, and they were talking about the Lightning because, of course, they also played in the Ice Palace / St. Pete Times Forum there. And they were talking about this great player that the Lightning had just drafted, and he was going to be the second coming of Gretzky. And seeing him skating around with the Stanley Cup again last night, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. It's a storybook. He was part of some horrible teams there through the early 2010s, basically part of some horrible hockey teams there that struggled, and they went through different coaches and different general managers. Jeff Vinnick has been the owner there. He took a risk, speaking of risk takers, since 2010, and he cleaned house a few different times and finally has the right people there and everything going well on the ice as well as off the ice. Man, what else can you say? 2 times in, I believe it's like 10 months. 2 times in 10 months they've raised the Stanley Cup. Unbelievable, man.
Yeah, and to see them do this for you living down, in Florida, what has it meant to the state of Florida, and what does it feel like down in Florida to see the Lightning do it not once but twice?
Well, yeah, what's crazy about Florida is we do have a lot of northern transplants here. A lot of, people that have come from New York or anywhere up north, and they come down here to live the life. The last thing they're probably thinking about is having a competitive NHL team. And it's really crazy to think the Lightning, weren't competitive for a long, long time. But now probably a lot of the people that go to Lightning games aren't even from Tampa Bay. So it's pretty crazy to think that it's a transplant hockey team, basically, and everybody still follows them through all this, and they've been able to see them win 2 Stanley Cups just this year.
Yeah, it's been incredible. And keeping in the state of Florida, quick here with Jason Lucas, PR to the press, had the opportunity and has had the opportunity continually to be a part of a lot of different things, including the Orlando Predators in the National Arena League, the NAL. We have the Albany Empire, the Carolina Cobras, the Columbus Lions, the Jacksonville Sharks, the Jersey Flight, and the Orlando Predators. I got to give it up to the NAL. These logos are friggin' awesome. Like I told you, I'm big on logos. And the Orlando Predators logos, I got to do, some stuff with the Predators and whatnot back in the day at Altamont Springs. So what can you tell us about, the Orlando Predators, them playing again, and what does the National Arena League look like? Does it feel good? What's going on with the Predators and the NAL?
Well, I can tell you, as far as Orlando goes with the Predators, we've had some good crowds. The first 2 home games, we've had over 4,000 people at each one of them. And it's been crazy. It's been loud. It's been a good atmosphere. The first game they played against the Albany Empire, who's known as the best team in the league. And also, they are owned by the same owners as the Predators. Pretty crazy. They played them the first game and played them tough. It was a loss for the Predators. But then this past week, the Predators actually finished off a sweep of the Jacksonville Sharks, beating them 52-41 in the Amway Center in front of a crowd that, man, it sounded like the old days just a little bit, because the Predator games, they used to draw 10, 11, 12,000 people, and it was so loud and crazy. It was just a party. Everybody's drinking, high-fiving, having a great time, and a football game broke out. So, man, the Preds they're going to do better as time goes on. I know that the marketing's going to pick up here going into the next season, but right now they're winning. Right now they've put together a team that looks like it's going to be a playoff team, which I don't think anybody expected. I think anything I watched before the season had the Predators as one of the worst teams in the league, and now they're sitting at 2-3. They've got 3 games to go that all look favorable for them to even get a chance to get to 5-3 and get in the playoffs.
Yeah, and having, we've seen Arena League go through a lot, Jay, through, the recent history. What's your take on it now? Seeing these 6 teams in the NAL and there's other arena leagues and whatnot, what is the future of arena football, and does it look bright?
I think it's looking better than it did a year ago.
Okay.
Last year, going through COVID, they had to cancel the season. This season, they're only able to play 8 games. They had a lot of conflicts with the arenas as far as, concerts getting back in the arenas, anything that travels, getting back in the arenas that weren't there last year. So they've had a lot of different conflicts and things that they had to work through, so they only ended up having an 8-game season. Next year, they believe there's going to be at least 3 or 4 more teams in the league, so they'll be able to expand and be able to have more places for the teams to go on road trips, which is great. I love that. I'm going up to North Carolina in a couple of weeks to watch the Predators play the Carolina Cobras. So it's looking pretty bright, Dan. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, as long as the teams are drawing fans and bringing in that money to the owners, there's no reason why the league shouldn't stay afloat, because the players don't make a whole lot of money either. So it's not like the payroll is huge. They should be able to sustain it and keep it going for as long as everything allows. Hopefully not another pandemic that, puts a league like them really on thin ice, because when it happened last year and they knew that they weren't going to have a season, a couple of the teams just had to drop out because they can't do it without the fans. And that's the great thing, like I was saying earlier about arena football. The fans are the biggest part of it. The fans basically pay the players the way you look at it. If they're not buying tickets, there's no money. So there's not that big TV check coming. The Arena League's great, man. I love it, and I hope it stays around forever.
And coming from Jason Lucas here this morning, all I got to say to you, Jay, is where's my Predators gear? That's all I want to know.
It's in the mail.
So, and that is my little niece, Gracie. So,
You hear her?
yeah, she just said, Daddy, hurry up, we got to leave. So with that being said, perfect segue, Grace. And Jay, we'll let you go. I know you got to take care of the kids, but I appreciate you as always. Please give them hugs and kisses from me, Miss Carly and Gracie, and give my love to Kristen as well. And I look forward to talking with you very soon, brother.
Will do, brother. All our love to you, man. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Later.
See ya. That coming from Jason Lucas here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. And I appreciate Mr. Lucas being here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we'll have the opportunity to have the conversation in just a few minutes with Dave Pasiak about the NBA. Dave is a longtime basketball coach and analyst with ties to Central and Upstate New York, and he'll be joining us to talk about the NBA Finals as we head into Game 2 tonight between the Suns and the Bucks. So inside the Cafe Kubal Studios here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, plenty coming up for you, and we appreciate you being here. My best to little Gracie and Carly, to Carter up in heaven, and to Jason and Kristen, and to everybody out there that feels like an underdog, that just needs a little bit of support, a little bit of hope, a little bit of love, a little bit of faith. I hope you get it today.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. I hope you're having yourselves a tremendous morning this morning and making the most out of your day and hopefully having some fun here. I know it's sunny and beautiful and in the 70s in central and upstate New York and wherever you are. We thank everybody for listening on the East Coast, the West Coast, the Midwest, and around the entire planet. Thank you to those of you that have connected with the show in Spain, Russia, China, Italy, England, Mexico, Canada, of course, as well as in so many states here in our community of the United States of America. And yes, I call it the community of the United States of America because we're better together than apart. And there's a lot of forces that seek to divide people in this world, and none of those things are good. And so I hope that in all the division, we'll find a way to stay together, listen to each other, and help each other, because I don't think anybody's better than anybody else. I think we're all better together. So hopefully we can see that, understand that, know that, and celebrate our differences and celebrate what makes us whole and what makes us really, we're all a piece of the pie, and without one piece of it, there's no full pie. So to me, I think nobody orders a half a pie. Nobody orders a pie that's 3/4 eaten. So, in order to make the full pie, we got to work with every slice, and I hope that we can do that. So, I believe in us, and I hope you do too. Inside the Cafe Kubal Studios, also here on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com. Proud to be here with you, connecting on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in so many different ways, every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And I hope you are having a tremendous week. And if your week is tough, then, I send you my prayers. And if your week is going absolutely amazing, I send you my prayers as well. So for everybody to keep doing well, that's my hope and my prayer for everyone. Cafe Kubal Studios, Cafe Kubal, located on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, as well as inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital. And, of course, you can find Cafe Kubal on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, and their huge behemoth of a brown building with the stripes on it. It actually looks like coffee being poured, and it's at the connection of all main roads that lead into Manlius. They all kind of converge right there for Cafe Kubal, which has an all-new parking lot, an expanded parking lot on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius. And, of course, you can go to their drive-through location. I love the fact that they have one now. First ever drive-through for Cafe Kubal, making it easy for everybody out there, even more so. They have indoor and outdoor dining there as well in the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, New York for Cafe Kubal. So come and see them out there as well. With that being stated, a great conversation this morning with Jason Lucas, and I really appreciate what we've been able to do here on the show. I mean, that my tagline for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is where sports meets life, and we do that every day. I think we've done it even more. I don't want to say we've done it more, but we've had some really great conversations this week, and they're only going to get better coming up tomorrow. And I'm very excited about tomorrow's show. We have the Annoying Moment of the Week, proudly brought to you by Carvel DeWitt. We have Lead, Learn, Evolve, Adlib, and Deliver, brought to you by Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, both of them. We also have the Top Dog of the Week, which is going to be Andre Sisco. And for those of you that are Syracuse fans and Jacksonville fans, Andre Sisco, big-time player for Syracuse, was the leading, when he was an active player in college football, he was the leading interception getter in the entire nation with 13 when he decided to forego his extended time and move on to the NFL. And then he got drafted by the Jaguars. And I have connections, obviously, to both of those teams. Deep connections with them. And so very happy to have Andre Cisco on the show, since I live in both worlds of Syracuse as well as Jacksonville. And I have the opportunity to speak with him about all of it. So you'll hear that tomorrow as he's honored as our top dog of the week. And, of course, we will also have another special. And around 10:15 a.m. Eastern time or so, I'll have the opportunity in kind of the back half hour, 10:30, I'll have Terry Alls on the show for a video special you will not want to miss, truly about where sports meets life, him being a sports fan, me being a sports fan, and the conversation that we're about to have with you on Friday goes far beyond the world of sports and really connects to the deeply rooted things in life. And I'm very excited to have that conversation with Terry. So he'll be joining the show in just a little bit on Friday. And so tomorrow's show is about to be very inspirational, very purposeful, very meaningful. And I look forward to bringing that to you. So very excited about what's going to come your way this Friday. And before that happens, we have plenty more with today's show. So what we'll do is we'll take a step aside for a fast break. When I come back, we will be joined by Mr. Dave Pasiak, longtime basketball coach and analyst and lover of the game, as he joins us to speak on the NBA Finals right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we appreciate you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time and 24/7 on wakeupcalldt.com, as well as on Facebook at wakeupcalldt, Twitter at calldt, and Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. We'll be back in just a moment after these great words from our great partners in the community. This is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Cafe Kubal Studios, and we very much appreciate you. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life. That's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, hanging out where sports meets that thing called life inside the Cafe Kubal studios. We are here on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt as well, and on facebook.com/livenowdt. and facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. So however you're tuning into the show, thank you so much for being a part of it and for hanging out with us on social media as well. Facebook at wakeupcalldt, Twitter at calldt, and Instagram at wakeupcall_dt. 5 million ways to connect with the show, so you got no excuses. We appreciate you being here as always, and thank you so much. And of course, we are very happy to be here with somebody who has followed me all the way through the playoffs, from before the playoffs even started to where we are today. He was one of the first guests on my show when I returned to Syracuse, New York, and he has been loyal to me ever since. So I cannot tell you how much I appreciate this gentleman that we have. I want to think back to, it's been almost a decade that we've been on the radio together, and that is none other than longtime basketball head coach and analyst Dave Pasiak, with strong ties to Central and Upstate New York, and currently the coach of the NVU Linden Hornets Division III basketball program. Just got his 300th career win and was one of the only Division III teams to actually get to play a season. They got to play 10 games this season and broke at 500. So happy to have Dave here on the broadcast with us this morning to talk about the NBA Finals, and always to have a good friend on the show. So with that being said, let's bring him in. Mr. Pasiak, how are we doing today?
I'm great, Dan. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, and Dave, kind of just before we get into the finals, to stay there for a second, what can you say about the fact that, hindsight 2020, you got to play, you got to get out there, how happy were you to be able to just get to do something, whatever that something was going to be? What does it mean to you? I know we talked about it a little bit, but hindsight 2020, what does it do for your program to be one of those programs that actually got to play this year?
Well, I think, for me, or I guess more specifically for our players, it was a tough year for college students in general, just dealing with COVID. And, a lot of schools were full remote. We were fortunate to be on campus, but it was still not a normal college experience. So, I think just to be able to, to play some games, I think our guys appreciated that. And, hopefully that experience is something that will help us continue to build and everything. I think it will be. I think the other kind of byproduct of that is we played 10 games, but it was a lot of scheduling gymnastics while that was going on. So I think, our guys learned a little life lesson about being adaptable and being able to change your course on short notice. And you're expecting to play one team and, 24 hours out, now you're playing somebody else. So, so I think we were certainly happy to play 10 games, because it's more than most people in the Northeast got in. But at the same time, you kind of wish that that you had a full championship season and conference play and all those kinds of things. So grateful for what we have, a little bit sad for what we didn't get, and trying to use it to continue to build and grow our program.
Yeah, and to be able to get out there, you had to entrust your players to do the right thing. You had to entrust them to kind of stay in their bubble and whatnot. How difficult was it as a coach to, essentially, in a way, have to, babysit and really just, send home to these young men like, hey, I know you want to enjoy college, but you kind of can't in a way right now because, coaches have to watch over their programs in general on a normal day, but during a pandemic, you really had to stay in your bubble. How easy or difficult was it to say to the guys, listen, if you want to play, you gotta do what you need to do to not really venture too far away from the team?
Well, I think for me as a coach, honestly, it was relatively easy to manage in this sense that, like, you know, I told our guys, this is the deal. And, you know, if COVID hits our team, you know, we're going to end up getting nothing or close to nothing. And we saw firsthand people that we were supposed to play run into those situations. So, I mean, our team was really good at self-policing, and, you know, every day guys would, you know, different guy would say, hey, make sure we're doing the right things, make sure we're keeping our circle small and don't jeopardize the work we're putting in. So, you know, I give most of the credit to players for that. I thought they really were very collectively aware. You know, I told our guys, this is the deal. You know, and you know, if consequence could be if COVID found its way into our lives.
Yeah, you know,
we're very
knowing
aware
that you got through that. But was it scary as a coach to do it? I mean, kind of not knowing what could be or what couldn't be. Knowing that, did you have to deal with any type of nerves with the players and have to sit them down? I mean, knowing we're dealing with something that could be or what couldn't be. People don't take lightly. It's a pandemic. There was a lot of questions and not a lot of answers, and there's still a lot of questions with the players. And how did you handle that as a leader when we're dealing with something that may have been a little bit nervous or a little bit concerned? A lot of questions. You didn't know not a lot of better answers than anybody else. Still a lot of questions. So.
Well,
how did you handle that as a leader when the team may have been a little bit nervous or a little bit concerned, and you didn't know any better answers than anybody else did?
We can't worry about what other people are doing in the moment and take care of our business. We'll do whatever we can. These are the things that we need to be doing. And if we don't, and if we take care of our end, like I said, we have a COVID outbreak in our team. You know what other people are doing. Take care of our business, doing the wrong things. We only have ourselves to blame for it. So. If we don't, I'm going to try to take that approach a little bit. So, like I said, we have a COVID outbreak in our team. Our guys are very, if it's very aware of the wrong things, we only have ourselves to blame for it. So, keeping their circle small. I'm going to try to take that approach a little bit. So, like I said, we're aware of what our guys were very aware of it, very jeopardizing if they didn't do that. Keeping their circle small. And we're fortunate too where we're located. We're aware of what COVID. In general, COVID counts and COVID cases would be quite small in Northeast Vermont. So we're fortunate too where we're located. In terms of our team, I think COVID, they understood full well COVID counts and what COVID cases were quite small and jeopardizing Northeast Vermont. So. If there were too cavalier, that certainly helps as well. But in the situations in terms of our team, I think they.
Coming here from longtime basketball coach and analyst Dave Pasiak, speaking on his program, the NBU Linden Hornets men's basketball team for NCAA Division III. Dave, getting into the NBA Finals, taking a look at
coming
this.
Here from longtime basketball coach and analyst Dave Pasiak, speaking on his program, the NBU
Phoenix.
Linden
Phoenix has
Hornets men's basketball team for NCAA Division III.
Phoenix won the first. They have. Getting into the NBA Finals, also in Phoenix, of course. This game, 118-105, close game, 13-point victory by the Suns in the Finals. Here's an interesting thing, though.
Won the
13-point victory by the Suns.
Game tonight,
4 of their starting 5 scored double figures.
This game,
they got 20 points from 2 guys off their bench, Johnson and Payne. Both combined for 20 points. They win by 13.
Here's an interesting
thing, though. Part of that.
13-point victory by the Suns. 4 of their starting 5
scored in double figures in this first game. And when we saw Cameron Johnson from 2 guys off their bench, Johnson and Carolina, he was
both combined for 20 points. They win by 13. So obviously they're a big part of that
overall.
What can you say about
Cameron
the bench
Johnson
play
in this game
of the Phoenix Suns in this first game?
21 minutes.
When we saw Cameron Johnson, somebody that I covered
points
from
in
North Carolina,
he was a
Payne
from first-round
pick in
What's your
2019.
take on Johnson and Payne
overall,
bringing those
Cameron
points
Johnson
off the bench and obviously being a part of this
21 minutes,
scoring 20,
and then
together
we see
and the
10
team
points
winning by
in
13.
17 minutes from Cameron Payne from Murray State.
What's
your take on Johnson and Payne bringing those points off the bench and obviously being a part of this difference, scoring 20 together and the team winning by 13?
Payne, he's gotten good play out of Sarge. He kind of fouled the season and guys fouled earlier rounds of the playoffs. I think it's pretty clear that it's not really a surprise that the Suns are the deeper of the two teams. Milwaukee kind of, sacrificed a little of their bench depth to, bring in Drew Holiday and kind of really give them another front line that Phoenix is the deeper of the two teams, main option. Bring in Drew Holiday and kind of really, I think, give them another front line. A little bit more main leeway and option. Probably can play. That was the go to the bench with a little bit more confidence. Than I think Phoenix has. And Milwaukee can. When Milwaukee gets past a little bit more and maybe leeway and probably can. Their play has go to the bench with a little bit more confidence. To really drop off, especially. I think one thing that hasn't been talked about gets past really like Connaughton impacts this round of the playoffs is DiVincenzo being out. Their play has really limited some of the. I think the thing ability hasn't been talked about that they have impacts this round different playoffs and play different ways. DiVincenzo being out for the Bucks, I think with him in the lineup gives us a little bit more some of the more ability to post some of the maneuverability and matchup with some of the things they have that Phoenix likes to give different looks and play different ways. The bench, I think it's with him in the lineup no surprise that more ability Phoenix got the better of the small in the game matchup with some of the things that Phoenix likes to do them to be the deeper team. The bench, any other significant. I think it's really no surprise that deeper team and be able to go a little bit deeper, better, get playing a little bit deeper down the bench as the series moves on. I would expect.
Yeah, and what do you think about the Bucks bench? I mean, what overall the kind of like you said, you think Phoenix can get a little bit more from their bench. What do you see from the Bucks? What are there positives? Are looking at the scheme throughout the season? Is there a potential dark horse catalyst? A little bit more from their bench. What do you see from the Bucks? What
like he would be the guy. He tends to have most.
Are there positives? Looking at the scheme throughout the season, is there a potential dark horse catalyst that can help them off the bench?
So I don't know. Maybe exactly what they'll get out of him this round. He would be the guy. The whole tends to have most key to the Bucks. The whole key to the series, to be honest with you, is in the last round. But this is what Giannis is status going to be the rest of the way. So I don't know can he play in exactly to what to elite level, top 3 or 4 player in the world. Giannis can he be? One thing that hasn't really been talked about the other night, the Bucks won the minutes out of him this round, but he was plus in like 35 minutes, and the other 4 starters were all double digits negative, and the rest of the roster was double digits negative. So they are not double digits in status. The rest of the guys that played were all negative. So. So you think about that. The game hasn't really been talked about the other night. The Bucks won the minutes. Giannis on the floor for 35 minutes. The Bucks win those minutes. He was plus. They get beat by double figures in like 35 minutes. 13 minutes. Giannis was on the bench. So really, that I think, along with there's starters for all technical things that that are fascinating in every series, but especially in NBA Finals where it's a little bit more spread out. And teams really can zero in and Giannis on the floor for 35 minutes, the Bucks win the game in a way that things, that are fascinating in every series, especially in with the compressed regular season schedule, and even teams really can't do as much in the earlier rounds of the playoffs where games tend to be scheduled much more closely together. So.
We look at Dave Pasiak here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. We look at, this game one, Giannis, Antetokounmpo, 20 points, 35 minutes, 17 rebounds, 15 of those on the defensive glass. Studios. 4 assists, 2 steals, this game 3 one, Giannis, game 5 fouls. Antetokounmpo, 20 points, you and I were talking off the air, and you said this looked like a pretty good stat line, but to Giannis, probably not. 20 and 17 in 35 minutes looks good to me. It's a double-double. And, it's almost 20-20 with points and rebounds. What did you see from him in this game?
17
how
rebounds,
did he
15 of those on the
look
defensive
to you
line.
as compared to what you're used to seeing from him on the floor?
Well,
you and I were talking off the air, and you said this looked like a pretty good stat line, but from him in this game, how did he look to you?
And I give him full credit for
compared to what you're used to seeing from him on the
being
floor.
in it with his team, and that injury he suffered, the way his knee bent back and everything. His numbers are it's remarkable that he's playing even at the level that he is. A good NBA player. But the thing, and I give him full credit if you watch him closely, like for getting out there and his number of shots was, being in it with his team and with that injury he suffered, and the way his knee bent back and everything, his aggressiveness, like in the open floor, it's remarkable that he's playing and that he's playing even at the level that he is. Those, were not there. At the same time, if you watch them closely, like being a typical his number of shots was down. He was very good. And he was very good. But I think they need him. His aggressiveness, like in the open floor, to be great basket, which is a huge part of his game. A normal workload. Those, were not there nearly to for them to win the series. And I think if he does, they will win the series. But I think he was very good. He was very good. But I think they need him to be great players in the world, Giannis, to be great and close to at a normal workload.
And
he needs to be,
seeing the injury and not knowing to what extent it was going to be at the time, and then finding out like, oh, okay, he's gonna be able to go forward and whatnot. Were you surprised that the injury wasn't as bad as it looked to be?
At a normal workload. Yeah, it was. When it happened,
seeing the injury and not knowing to what extent it was going to be at the time, and then finding out like, oh, okay, he's going to be able to go forward and whatnot. Were you surprised that the injury wasn't as bad as it looked to be?
His knee buckled backwards. Yeah, it was not supposed to. When it happened, the first couple of replays, I thought was shocked that he was done. And looking at no structural damage, significant injury that was going to keep him out for that significant period of time. Even game day Tuesday, they had him as doubtful. His knee buckled backward after winning. They didn't. They're not supposed to. The decision that he was going to play didn't come until he was shocked that he had gone through some pregame stuff, no structural damage for the game. So I think it's remarkable he's playing and even game day Tuesday, they had him as doubtful. Of the mindset that he was afternoon, that he was finished. The decision that he was going to play after that injury until he went out.
And like you said, and I think other people held those same feelings that he was not going to be able to go out and play, and now here he is. 20, and 17 in game number 1. Chris Middleton, we've seen him step up. He took 26 shots in game 1 of these NBA finals.
And like you said,
more shot attempts
other people
than anybody on
same
either
side
on either
he was
team.
not going to be able to go out and
Booker
play.
on the Suns took 21,
was
the closest to
20,
him. 12 of
26
from
the
game
field,
number
5
1.
of
12 from three-point range.
Chris
almost
Middleton,
50%.
we've seen him
7
step up.
rebounds,
He took
4
26
assists.
shots
He
in
did
game
have
one of
5
these
turnovers
NBA
in game.
finals.
29 points
More
in 45
shot
minutes.
attempts
What's your
than
assessment
anybody
of
on
the
either
continuous
side,
evolution
on
of Chris
either
Middleton? Booker on the Suns took 21, was the closest to him, but 12 of 26 from the field, 5 of 12 from three-point range, almost 50%. 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He did have 5 turnovers in the game, 29 points in 45 minutes. What's your assessment of the continuous evolution of Chris Middleton?
Kind of emerged, and the perception of him, I think, there have been games really been enhanced during this postseason. The games, and especially the couple of games Giannis was there, where they closed out number one go-to guy. Even though I think on the floor, Middleton's stock has certainly risen. I think he's always been a guy that I think people thought of as being a very good player, and he is really, I think, with him being kind of more on the national stage in the playoffs and everything, and how he's responded for the most part, I think he's, he's kind of elevated his. He's always been a guy that position in his. I think people thought of as being a very good player, and I don't want to say he's at the elite level, but he's with him being kind of more on the national stage in the playoffs and everything, and how he's responded for the most part. I think
and seeing that, Chris Middleton, do you think that after the season's over that this man's gonna? Do you think he'll cash in? Is it fair to say he's already met what he's needed to meet to get that big contract after the season ends up?
I'm not sure what his
and
contract
seeing that,
status
Chris
is, but,
Middleton, do you think that after the season's over that this man's
there's
gonna?
no question he's going to be
I
seeking
mean,
a
do you
max,
think he'll
and
cash in? I mean, is
Milwaukee will
it
probably
fair to
give
say
it to
he's
him.
already
And
met
if not, then,
what he's needed to what he's needed to meet to get that
considering some of the
big
other guys,
contract after the season ends up?
around the NBA that are I'm not sure what his contract status
walking
is,
around
but,
with max contracts.
so when he comes up, I think he's no question he's going to be seeking a max,
helped
and
his bargaining position with
Milwaukee will probably give it to him. And if not,
taking a look at his money right
there are
now,
other teams in the league that will consider
he
some of the other
has.
guys.
Let's see.
So
So
he
he
NBA that are
in 2020
taking
over
a look at
35.5 million
money
next
right
year.
now.
A little bit. He has looking at 38 million
So
for
he-
2022, 2023, and he's going to
going
make over 40 million. A little over 33 million.
I mean, this is
over 35.5 million next year for the Pistons. A little
he
bit.
made
$473,000. Looking at 38
The
million
next year
for
he went to the
2022,
Bucks, made
788,000, and he's going to make over 40 million in 2023. Then 14.7 million. 15.2.
This is a guy that
then he went
is
down
on an escalated
to
deal.
14, then 13.
And if you
then
look
went
at
up
kind of
from
the
13
beginning,
to 28,
his first season,
and then
2012,
he's escalated from here.
2013
So
when he played for
he's
the
only
Pistons,
gone down
he made
once in the twice, pardon me, in the amount of money
The
that
next
he made.
year he went to the
But
Bucks,
from
made
2018 to 29, 915,000. He went up over $15 million, more than doubled his contract.
Then he went down
from 2018
to 14
season
and
to
13, then went
2019
up from
season.
13 to
So,
28.
kind of interesting
And then
here to see. I
he's
mean, he's already
escalated
making
from
a good
here.
amount
So
of money.
he's only gone down once,
but I mean,
this
is a guy that you would
imagine
imagine.
But
is
from 2018-19
someone
to
that you want to
2019-20,
keep happy if you're the Milwaukee Bucks right now.
$15
I did want to take a look at it.
more
Taking a
than
look at it
doubled
as
his
missed
contract
shots
from
in this game, kind of, just kind of looking at the chart here right now.
The
Bucks missed a lot of
he's
shots.
already
in the
making
paint
a good
and
amount of
a lot of
money.
shots around the front of the
And,
basket.
but I mean,
were you
this is a guy
concerned
that you
about
would
that at all? I mean,
imagine
both teams did,
is
but the Bucks
someone
missed
that you
more
want to
from the
keep
inside.
happy.
And
If you're the Milwaukee
it's
Bucks
kind of
right
interesting
now.
to see.
I
when
did
you
want to
break
take
it
a
all
look
down.
at taking
They
a
missed
look
a lot
at
of shots
missed
from
shots
from
in this
inside
game,
the paint,
kind of, just
and they
kind of
missed a
looking
ton
at the
of
chart
shots
here right
from
now.
the
The
right
Bucks missed
side
a lot of
three-point,
shots in the paint and a lot of
that
shots
right
around the
upper
front of the
corner.
basket.
They missed a ton
Were
of
you
three-point
concerned
attempts
about
from the
that
right
at all? I
side,
mean,
not
both
so many
teams
from the
did,
left. So,
but the Bucks missed
any
more from
assessment
the
of the
inside.
Bucks is,
And
as far as that
it's
goes,
kind of
from
interesting
a
to see
coaching
when you break it all
standpoint,
down.
X's and
They
O's,
missed a lot of
the fact that
shots
they missed so many shots on the interior, and a lot of them close to the basket,
from
that they
the
missed
right side of
you know,
three-point.
a good amount of shots
that right
from
upper
the right
corner.
side.
They missed a ton of three-point
the,
attempts from the
three-point
right
line.
side, not so many from the left.
Yeah,
So
I think- I mean, that's a
any
little bit how
assessment
they're
of the
built
Bucks is, as far as that goes,
get
from
their
a
shots
coaching
at the
standpoint,
rim,
X's and O's, the
throw
fact
the
that they
ball
missed so
inside
many
and
shots
whatnot,
on the
get to the
interior,
basket,
and a
or,
lot of them close to the
shoot open
basket,
threes. I mean,
and that they missed
shoot threes,
a good amount of
they're one of the
shots
most
from
prolific
the
three-point
right
shooting
side
teams in the league. So,
of the three-point line.
it's not a surprise
Yeah,
where the shots are
that's a
coming
little
from.
bit
I
how
think,
they're built.
they're a team that get their shots at the rim. They need to throw the ball inside around the basket, and they also need to shoot threes in an efficient rate. Especially because one of the most Phoenix is a little bit unconventional in where some of their shots come from. It's not a surprise where the shots are coming from. I think the view from that space, like the big view from space, you would say, they need to convert getting the more efficient shots and need to over the long haul at an efficient rate. Especially because Phoenix is a little bit unconventional in where some of their shots come from. So Milwaukee should prevail, but in the here and now, in the moment, space, like the big view from space, Milwaukee's not converting, like you said, getting the more efficient shots and at the rate that you would expect them to. And didn't really shoot the three at the rate you'd expect. Shot IQ and analytics and all that would tell you that takes a lot of what Milwaukee should prevail. But in general, since you would consider in the here and now, in the moment, mid-game shots, but they have Milwaukee guys not converting, like you said, convert those shots at the rate that very elite level, and didn't really shoot the three at the rate you expect. And at the same time, efficiency level that warrants takes a lot of what's from a general sense shots for a lot of players with no efficiency mid-game shots, but they have a couple of guys. Milwaukee's got to convert better shots at a very and part of that's going to be dictated by how they decide to play at an efficiency level that warrants them taking the shots, stick to their guns. The same shot, bigger. A lot of players Lopez a lot, pretty good shots. So. I think Milwaukee's got round they better at good adjustment, whereas Lopez and part of that's going to depend the drift by how they decide to play. They threw it inside. They've done it in a couple of huge games in the Atlanta series. Stick to their guns, capitalize on some mistakes, stay bigger, and play Lopez a lot. Atlanta.
really kind of, it's not the last to put Lopez aside, and they made a good adjustment. The Bucks did. Lopez responded, so tends to drift on the perimeter. It's going to depend on. They threw it inside. If Milwaukee huge games in the Atlanta series, commitment to go smaller and play Giannis at center, and Atlanta played really kind of was daring Milwaukee matches up a little better with Phoenix and throw it to them. The Bucks did, and they elected to do that for a significant amount of time. That's going to change depend on where, if Milwaukee's getting their shots from as well. Makes the commitment to go smaller and play
Pasiak, longtime basketball coach and analyst and lover of the game, and big ties to Central New York, and of course the NVU Linden Hornets men's basketball head coach here with us talking about the 2021 NBA playoffs, and now obviously all the way to the NBA Finals inside of the Cafe Cubal studios here on Wake Up Call. Going back to the game, Dave, first quarter, basketball coach and analyst and lover of the game. It was relatively close. Big ties to Central New York, and of course the NVU Linden Hornets men's basketball head coach here with us talking about the 2021 NBA playoffs, and then it stayed close all the way to the second quarter as well. And then it broke open. I mean, at halftime, going back to the game, the Suns leading 57-49. And after that, it was relatively close. Getting the game to a 7-point deficit a couple times. We saw that quarter end. Well, this is double digits. So the Bucks 30-26 were behind in the second half, the majority of the second half. I think the last time and then it broke down by 7. I mean, at halftime, it was with 7 minutes leading 57-49, and after that, left in there when they were down by 7 points, 101 deficit a couple times. This was 7-16 after this was double digits that the Bucks shot that he were behind in the second half. What's your take on that? I mean, in the first half time, Milwaukee was hanging with them and wasn't down by double digits and kept the game close. In the second half, Phoenix just came out and really 7 points, 101 to 94. Were truly that solar flare that they needed to be of the Sun. Shot that he made. What can you say about Milwaukee's? What's your take on that? I mean, in the first half, what concerned you about the second half? Knowing that they really, by double digits outside of, like I said, a couple moments in the second half, Phoenix points, just came out and really never found a way to close the gap. And were truly that solar flare that they needed to be of the Sun. And what can you say about Milwaukee's lack of answering in the second half? And what concerned you about the second half, knowing that they really, outside of, like I said, a couple moments of getting it to 7 points, they really never found a way to close the gap
in a big way. I think what was interesting is even you kind of felt back to the Atlanta series. Milwaukee's got like kind of preferred way they want. You felt like Phoenix opened up a little bit of daylight at halftime. You kind of felt the game going in their direction, and then they're going third quarter. Obviously, Trae Young go nuts that way, and then in a big way, kind of changed their coverage. What was interesting is if you look back to the Atlanta series 2 nights ago, Milwaukee's got like kind of the third way they did the opposite in that. And they were throwing whatever they could at the wall runs the whole first game. Trae Young go nuts. And then they dropped coverage. Their coverage they brought an extra defender. They switched glass. The 2 nights in that exploited. They were throwing whatever they could at the wall defensively. I think the technical adjustment is they drop coverage. They brought how does Milwaukee what penalty do they want to run out there? And Phoenix. Exploited. The concerning thing is I didn't think Holiday played well. I think he played exceptionally well late in the Atlanta series, especially after the honest. How does Milwaukee what kind of lineup do they want to run out there? From a performance standpoint, I would say after the honest. The concerning thing is I didn't think Holiday played well. Thing for. He played especially because they don't have Atlanta series, especially after the honest. A ton of people that necessarily, from a performance standpoint, I would say after the honest factor that we've already talked about, they need Holiday to really key thing to be playing at his best as well. For Milwaukee, especially because they don't have a ton of depth or Holiday, a ton of people that necessarily, and then they're going to rely on get a solid contribution from Lopez. They need Holiday to be playing at his best. You get the game like the other night where Milwaukee, Phoenix was able to Holiday, Middleton, and Giannis, and Milwaukee's hand take Lopez out of contribution from Lopez. And that's kind of got to be their form subpar game from Holiday. That's tough when you get a game like the other night where the Bucks Phoenix was able to.
And as we step forward here into game 2. What do you think is going to, I mean, what's your analysis tell you of this? I mean, is this a series that you see going 6 or 7? Is it a series that, I mean, Phoenix, for the most part, has commanded all the way through and had little bit of an issue? What do you think is going to, I mean, what's your in their first 2 series, I believe it was 8 wins, 2 losses, is this including a series that you see going 6 or 7? Where do you see this going? I mean, do you think that for the most part we're kind of in the thick of all the way through and had little bit of an issue with really anybody? Like Phoenix can in their first 2 series, I believe it was take hold of this 2 losses, in 4 or 5 games, including a sweep. So, where do you see this going? Do you think that we're kind of in the thick of things and we should be prepared to go 7 or 6, or
Milwaukee dropped.
Do you feel like Phoenix can?
They got blasted early in the Brooklyn series, So for some of the criticism that Budenholzer gets, they've been pretty good at adjusting and turning the series in their favor earlier in the playoffs. So, I think people that are dismissing Milwaukee, I think, are making a mistake at this point. I think. There's, still a lot of series left. I think if the Bucks win tonight, we got a series that's going 6 or 7. I think if Phoenix wins, now we go back to Milwaukee. It's on, and with an extra day of rest, a little bit extra rest. Now the pressure's on the Bucks. Can they hold serve at home? If they can, then we got a great series. If Phoenix wins tonight and then takes game 3, it's pretty much over. So, but like I said, I mean, the adjustments are going to be part of it. But at the end of the day, the honest factor looms huge, and I think it's probably for what it gets talked about, it's probably not talked about enough. I think that's really going to drive what direction this series goes in as much as anything.
Well, let me ask you this, Dave. What team do you think has the better bounce back ability? What team is better with their backs up against the wall, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, Phoenix really hasn't been in a backs to the wall situation, so that's a hard question to answer. Yeah. And Milwaukee's responded to that. Brooklyn had them on the ropes, and Atlanta, went up on them early, and then they lost Giannis late in that series. So, I mean, Milwaukee has shown in this playoffs quite a bit of resiliency and an ability to bounce back, which is something that the past couple of years the Bucks really didn't do. So, I mean, I think that speaks to their kind of evolution and continuing maturity, continuing to mature as a team. Phoenix is tougher to evaluate in that context. They ran into a really significantly weakened Lakers team, significantly weakened and kind of out of gas Denver team. Get the Clippers without Kawhi. So, I mean, they jumped on that series, went up early. So Phoenix really hasn't faced a ton of adversity yet. It would be interesting to see what happens. Like, let's say Milwaukee, evens it up tonight, and then they go up 2-1 after game 3, and Phoenix sees a little bit of adversity and trying to fight from underneath a little bit. It would be very interesting to see how they respond. It would be very interesting to see how Chris Paul responds, because his playoff track record is a little bit spotty in that regard.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, Chris Paul making it to his first ever NBA Finals. Is it hard not to root for him? I mean, when you see Giannis on one side and you see Chris Paul on the other, what do you think? I mean, as a fan, I mean, you've been a coach for a long time. You analyze the game with me all the time. But as a fan, how do you see this? Because Giannis, for the last couple of years, was supposed to make it, and he didn't. Embarrassed by the Heat last year, and the year before in 2019, my Raptors got it done and went through them and everybody else. So Giannis was the guy that was supposed to get there. Chris Paul was the guy that people thought was never going to get there. Almost like Dan Marino in the football world. So where do you see more of? Because we have Chris Paul had the talent, but they never thought it was going to happen. Giannis, they were not the underdog. They were the team that was expected. They were the number 1 seed in the East. So how do you see these two guys as far as, what would be the better story? What's the more compelling? I mean, is it really the Chris Paul, everybody thought he was down and out, and now he's got a chance to do it? How do you see it?
Well, I think the media is really pushing the Chris Paul narrative hard. Like me as a fan, it doesn't really have a strong rooting interest or dog in the fight either way. I just want to see a good series. Me personally, I don't have doesn't mean any more or any less to me if Chris Paul wins the title or if Giannis wins the title.
Yeah.
But I think the media narrative that's really been pushed is the whole Chris Paul finally has a chance to get his ring thing. And I think the one thing about that is I think that it's almost tended to shortchange the rest of the Suns roster. You can make I think a really compelling argument. Chris Paul may not be the best player on the team. Booker's probably the best player on the team. And we've talked about many times that the team was already headed in the right direction. So, I think the story is bigger than Chris Paul chasing his first championship, but I think much of the sports media has latched on to that one because it's a little bit of low-hanging fruit. And I think Chris Paul is a generally, well-liked and well-respected player that, has a lot of fans, Chris Paul fans, and also, some casual fans that root for him.
Do you think that Booker's getting lost in the shuffle because of Chris Paul? I mean, is there an accidental disrespect for him because there's so much on Chris Paul?
There's times where it feels like it, to be honest with you. Booker's a phenomenal player. I think there's been a bunch of young players that have really, this postseason, this playoffs, have really shined and elevated their stature on a national and a global stage. And I think Booker is right up near the top of that list. I think he's a guy that, like, when Phoenix wasn't winning a couple of years ago, he was dropping big numbers, and people didn't know if Booker, if a team centered around Booker could win. And if you listen to the coaches in Phoenix and everything, Monty and everything, Booker has been all in about just, make me better and what do I got to do for us to win. Because I think early in his career, people were kind of subliminally tagging him as being like an accumulator and maybe a guy that you couldn't win built around. But I think he's proven that to be a false narrative. I think he's been terrific. And if you go back in NBA history, Jordan had that rap until he won, and Dominique Wilkins had that rap pretty much his whole career. And even to a degree, like somebody like LeBron, until he won, he got a lot of criticism for not winning. So, I think if Booker stays healthy, he's on his way to being one of the top 5 or 10 players in the league for several years to come.
Yeah, and we're looking at, what he can be in the future of the franchise. I mean, Chris Paul is not going to be there forever, obviously. So, it's the future of a franchise. Look, you've brought up the coaches before. You just mentioned Monty. From a coach to a coach, speaking here with Dave Pasiak on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Cafe Cubal studios. Mike Budenholzer for the Milwaukee Bucks and Monty Williams for the Phoenix Suns. Thoughts on what these two coaches have done up to this point?
Well, I think Monty probably should have been Coach of the Year this year, for the Suns. I think he's, he took a roster that had some young parts, but you could see that there was some potential there, and really, back in the bubble, got them going in the right direction, and then they've added some veteran influences, chief among Chris Paul, and he's really one of the interesting thing about him. He coached Paul in New Orleans, and they butted heads a lot. And I think, if you listen to Monty talk, he said he was, they were both very headstrong at that time, and I think, they're on a whole different player-coach relationship than they were in the first go-round. So, that's credit to, Paul's maturity as a player and Monty's maturity as a coach. So, On the other side of the coin, Budenholzer, and there was talk if he didn't beat New Jersey, he was going to get fired. If he didn't beat Atlanta, he's going to get. I mean, to me, that's absurd. I mean, he's a guy that, if you remember when he coached the Hawks, he took them to best record in the East. And then when he left, the franchise went back in the crapper until this year. When he went to Milwaukee, he took the same team. Jason Kidd couldn't get past the first round plateau, and all of a sudden they're playing in the conference final, and one of the elite teams in the league the last couple of years. So I think the criticisms that he gets, to me, are ridiculous. But one of the things you get in the media is like certain guys like play well with the media and tend to get a lot of free passes, and certain other guys just go about their business and seem to be subject to constant stream of criticism. So.
Yeah, and that's the reality. Some guys get it, some guys don't. But we're in the finals right now, and these are the guys that are here. And with all due respect to everything, I don't want to hear about LeBron James, and I don't want to hear about anybody except for the Bucks and the Suns right now. I'm big on respecting who's there. And, it's like I'm a Raptors fan, but I'm not sitting here going Toronto, Toronto, Toronto. Like, I'm concerned about this NBA Finals, and I'm concerned about what they're going to do. Dave, as a fan of basketball in and of itself, as somebody who's played it, as someone who has coached it, continues to coach it, for you to love the sport of basketball, we never thought, I don't think anybody foresaw this. There was no Nostradamus of the basketball world that could have seen the Suns and the Bucks here today. What is this doing for basketball? Is it good? Is it bad? We don't know. I mean, how do you see this? Because seeing the Suns logo and the Bucks logo, to many people is something that, I don't think there's anybody. There might be one or two people in Vegas that roll the dice. Maybe there's a gopher somewhere or an octopus that they told to pick something, and he threw out one of his, one of his tentacles picked up the Suns and the Bucks. I don't know. Maybe there's a little kid that grabbed the two cars that said Suns and Bucks. But outside of these kind of, unique occurrences, no talking head was talking about Phoenix versus Milwaukee. So what do you think about that? The fact that this is where the NBA is at right now?
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the things that's going to be very interesting, especially if this is a long 6 or 7 game series. It's very interesting to see what the TV ratings are for a series like this, because, everybody's always on the major media market thing, which I think in the NBA, because it's kind of a players league and a star-driven league, I think that tends to be a little bit overblown. I think the NBA is as much about the stars as the franchise. I think like the difference between having the Yankees and the Royals in baseball is significantly greater than the difference between having, say, the Celtics and the Bucks, or the Lakers and the Suns in the NBA. So I think I'm really curious to see how the TV ratings play out over time. The other thing that I think it's done is it's blown up like the narrative from a segment of the population. It's always the same teams, or only a couple of teams have a chance to win.
The levels, because obviously it's
a couple of
it's
really
a
interesting
multi-layered
numbers
system.
that
So regardless of the fact,
factoids, I guess,
NCAA,
for this series and this playoffs. We talked about last round. It was the first time since 93-94 that neither conference final had a 1 seed, involved in the conference finals. But an even better number, I think, is this is the first NBA finals in 50 years since 1971 where nobody on the roster on either team has an NBA championship ring. Hasn't happened in 50 years in the NBA. So I think, it bodes well for the league from the standpoint of, I think there's always, and Milwaukee's kind of gone through this. Phoenix really hasn't. If you look back over NBA history in the last, 20, 30, 40 years, it's almost been like there's been kind of a rite of passage where you had to go through some struggle get to the playoffs and then advance a round or two. And like you always had to kind of like teams. I mean, you can go back to Jordan and then, or the bad boy Pistons or, LeBron James, even Golden State to a certain degree. There was always like a build. And, Milwaukee's kind of had the build where, they went from being a pretty good team to being, best record of the East team but not being able to kind of get there in the finals to now they're in the finals. Phoenix's rise has been much more sudden. But, I think the fact that you have the Suns and the Bucks and an unexpected final and not the same faces that, that people are used to seeing. And, you got a finals that doesn't have either the Warriors or LeBron James for the first time in, a decade probably or more. So I think that's good for the league, and I think it kind of shuts up the people that complain about it. There's only a handful of teams that can win, and we say the same people every year.
Yeah, and now we get to see, this. We get to, the Bucks, again, a team that was kind of expected over the last couple of years, but the Suns not. So the whole rally the valley is going to give us an opportunity to see what, this can all genuinely look like. Dave, in all your trips around, the country and whatnot, have you ever really encountered a Phoenix Suns fan? Like, I knew Jason Kidd fans and Amari Stoudemire fans, and Steve Nash fans, but have you really ever felt there was a big Phoenix Sun fan base?
Well, I got a guy from Phoenix on my roster, so and he's a Suns fan and everything. So the short answer is yes, but they're few and far between.
Yeah.
I think when the Suns went through like the Barkley era when Charles was playing in Phoenix, I think the Suns had a significant fan base because of Barkley and because they went through a period of time where they were one of the prime threats to an NBA title and everything. So I think there was a Suns fan base at that point. But I think in recent history, the Suns haven't been very good, first of all. And, even Booker was kind of dealing in obscurity. And beyond that, they really, they're a team that never, they would get their one national TV appearance on the late game on TNT once a season. So people didn't really see them. So, I think in recent history, the last, I don't know, however many, 10 or a dozen years, I think that, there's really been no national following for Phoenix.
Yeah, and now as we look at it, it'll be interesting to see what happens here, if and when they do win a championship, what this fan base looks like and, how many fair weathers come out because everybody likes when it's nice outside. So, we'll have to see. But Game 2 is coming up here, Milwaukee at Phoenix, and obviously we'll carry this on through next week. We'll continue to have the conversation with Mr. Dave Pasiak, who's been with us all the way through. And Dave, as always, I appreciate you. NVU Linden men's basketball head coach out in Vermont for the NCAA Division III men's basketball program, speaking with us on the NBA playoffs all the way through, and of course on these 2021 NBA finals now that we are here. The Suns and the Bucks. Suns lead 1-0, and we'll have Dave on the show next week to talk about where we're at from here. I mean, if somehow the Suns keep winning, then Wednesday could be the end. If not, then we continue on. I would imagine that we're going to go 6 or 7 in this one. If Giannis can, muster up whatever he can, and Middleton's doing his thing. So we'll have to see where we go from here. It's hard to bet against Chris Paul, but then Giannis is a guy that a lot of people respect. So there's a lot coming on here, and then you can't forget about Middleton and Booker and so on and so forth, and about obviously the bench of the Suns. A lot of things we spoke about today with Dave Pasiak. So a lot of great stuff coming up, and Dave, I appreciate the fact that you have given us some prime real estate every single week here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You've been willing to come on to the show and follow us through the playoffs. So let me say thank you first and foremost for that, and more than anything for our friendship, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I appreciate you having me, and let's hope we have a great game, too, tonight.
Absolutely. So we'll talk about it soon, and in the meantime, take care.
Take care, Dan.
See you. That coming from Dave Pasiak one more time, where sports meets that thing called life. So very happy to be here and have some fun on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, with Mr. Dave Pasiak, and thank him as always for being a part of this. And, I love having Dave on the show because, he's somebody, we talked about basketball for such a long time. We've gotten to know each other for almost a decade, and being able to connect with him and talk about the wonderful world of sports is awesome because obviously he's a head coach, so he's molding young minds every single season and all throughout the year. And on top of that, he's a fan and he just loves the game and analyzes the game, and he knows so much. I could literally ask him about any one of the 30 NBA teams and he knows something about somebody, and I respect that so very much. So Dave, you are always welcome here on the show, and I love having you on the broadcast. So very, very much appreciate the fact that somehow, some way we met up through the grace of God a long time ago, and we had the opportunity to connect with each other. So I'm happy to always have Mr. Pasiak on the show, and many who know him know that he is one incredible human being, and he is a very loyal human being as well. So shout out to you, Dave, and thank you for everything, and much love as always. So with that being said, we're going to take our final step aside of today's show. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show and get you ready for Friday on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life, from inside the Cafe Kubal studios with Cafe Kubal locations all throughout Syracuse, North Syracuse, and Manlius. We thank them for being here with us in the community, and we thank you for supporting local. We'll be back right after this.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecubal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpazsnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every single time. Make your way out there and download their app on the Google Play or Apple App Store, so you'll have all of the information that you need at your fingertips. Not only will you have an entire menu with all the ingredients and listed for you very easily, from desserts to breads to salads to the sandwiches named after the families that help settle today's Pulaski, and so much more. But you'll also have a map there for directions from wherever you're at to get there as efficiently as possible. And you can use contactless pay and tip on the app and make it very easy. Open Tuesday through Sunday. You can find them Tuesday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Millhouse Market. The drive-through window is available for you. You order your food, grab and go, and you can also go into the general store and buy local products from local companies, Millhouse Market, as well as many companies that they support, with local honeys, local syrups, and so much more, local jams, and I got a lot of stuff from there. I got a seasoning from there, I got honey from there, syrup, a lot of great things that you can get from the Millhouse Market. And of course, you can go inside to their indoor dining, and their bistro menu changes every weekend, so you can go in there and find out what's new. And they always have something new and fresh and interesting from the mind of Rebecca Elford, so make sure you go out there and check them out every single week. 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. The Millhouse Market. Worth the drive every time. Avicoli is located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, is our home for our Liverpool Athletics Sports Show every single month, brought to you by Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can come there and see us on the pizza side of things, and you can go there Tuesday through Sunday and enjoy for lunch, dinner, and drinks the pizza casual side, the fine dining side, the bar, and the outdoor dining. Multiple ways to enjoy one singular, beautiful local company that's been here in our community for decades, right down the road from Liverpool High School. You can walk there from Liverpool High School, and Avicoli's there on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, wants to say thank you to the community for all that you've done through the pandemic and in general to be there for them and to continue to support local. You can call them for takeout, delivery, and catering at 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100, and you can go to myavicolis.com. Canine Campground Dog Boarding and Canine Camp Dog Daycare. You can get out to them in East Syracuse right off of Bridge Street. The daycare is open for you on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, and around the corner on 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, you will find the Canine Campground Dog Boarding. For short and long-term care for your furry-loving friends, go no farther than the people that treat your dog as if it's their own, and they go through a process to make sure your dog has a good temperament, to play with other dogs, that they're going to be safe, that the dogs around them are safe. They go the extra mile for us to help us have peace of mind when we have to drop off our dog. And when you know, like me and Lily, she's part of the family. And so you want to make sure that they're being left in the care of people that truly know what it's like to care for our dog. Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding, second to none in our community and beyond. PB&J's Lunchbox, it's the street car that you have followed all throughout the community. You continue to follow them in the community. You love pulling up to PB&J's Lunchbox food truck and getting that award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly, the Philly cheesesteak, and so much more. Well, now you can pull up to their Streetside Cafe Monday through Saturday. There for you from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, Monday through Saturday, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And breakfast, lunch, and dinner are served all day long, so you can get whatever you want. You can go there at 3 p.m. and get some breakfast. And that is at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Head out to the Streetside Cafe. PB&J's Lunchbox just open on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Minutes from the Thruway, the Highway, Onondaga Lake Parkway, and Destiny, USA. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, 791 West Genesee Street in Skinny Atlas. Worth the drive to head out to for you to get yourself better. Listen. Anybody that knows what a true victory is knows that there's steps you need to take. It's little by little, point by point, going in a positive direction. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics takes your hand and walks you through the process to victory. That's why their name is perfect to their mission and what they do. They listen to their patients, they care about their patients, and they walk us through. I've trusted them for almost a decade of being out there, and you should call them today at 315-685-7544. That's 315-685-7544. With that being stated, here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I would like to thank our amazing guest today, Mr. Jason Lucas, talking with us about life, about adversity, about being an underdog, which led into the Kurt Warner movie that's coming out, American Underdog, this December. We also got into the Orlando Predators and the National Arena League, which are underdogs, and the Tampa Bay Lightning that just won back-to-back Stanley Cups, and they were underdogs. So a perfect conversation all throughout about being an underdog and never giving up or giving in. Dave Pasiak joining us here on the show to speak on the 2021 NBA Finals, and he's followed us all the way through the playoffs. Great friend of the show and a great friend of mine. They both are. And Dave Pasiak being here with us speaking about two other underdogs. The Bucks, who a lot of people didn't think a decade ago were going to potentially go anywhere. And definitely not the Suns. The Suns have been at the bottom of the West for a long time. So good to see them where they are, both of these teams. So shout out to Jason and a shout out to Dave joining us inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Use my promo code DT20. Anywhere in the country, any one of the 50 states, if you go to Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com right now and use my promo code DT20, that's DT20, you get 20% off all of your online orders at Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com. Even if you're picking up in the store, you can still get it by going online to Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com. Use my promo code at checkout, DT20, that's DT20. Want to thank you all for watching and listening to Wake Up Call. As you know, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT. Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. All where you can watch live. And you can listen live on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. And on WakeUpCallDT.com. www.wakeupcalldt.com. You can also hang out with us on all of our app avenues: Stitcher, TuneIn, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or search Wake Up Call DT as one word, and you will find us on there, and many is coming up on the archive, many things to be added. A special thanks to all of our Central and Upstate New York partners: Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, Wildcat Sports Pub, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay, which debuts their new commercial tomorrow on the show, so make sure you tune in for that during the fast break. Honda City of Liverpool, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, PB&J's Lunchbox, Pizza Man, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, the Millhouse Market, and Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. And of course, our newest partner is quite notably, to, I would think, many, the most recognizable restaurant in all of Syracuse, New York. A restaurant that is part of the fabric of our community. When people come to visit, it's one of the restaurants they say they have to go to. It's the restaurant they hear about all the time, and they're now a proud partner of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora starting here in July, and that's Mother's Cupboard. Got to go out to Mother's Cupboard, 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York, home of the whole frittata. If you eat it all, you get a t-shirt and you get your picture on the wall, and you get to be part of the history of the fabric of Syracuse, New York, and Mother's Cupboard. This diner, this little tiny diner that's located just minutes from the Dome and minutes from downtown Syracuse, has been in our hearts for as long as they've been here. Very, very much appreciate it. And I'm so excited. I could smell the food right now. I could smell them breakfast potatoes. We are getting ready to do monthly food challenges. On top of that, we're going to be doing some other cool things at Mother's Cupboard, including a wake-up call menu item that can be ordered 7 days a week from all of you wonderful people that go to Mother's Cupboard, either from traveling here or those of you in our community. I cannot wait to put my name on something at Mother's Cupboard. I am honored, I am privileged, and I am excited, and I cannot wait to bring all the good stuff that we're going to do with Mother's Cupboard to you, officially partnering with Mother's Cupboard for the first time ever here in 2021, which is perfect, because 21 is my favorite number, the year of me, and here is Mother's Cupboard joining us. Home of the whole frittata, 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York. Can't wait to show you everything we're going to do with them and let you enjoy the food and enjoy the videos and all the good stuff that is to come. So, with that being stated, thank you to you. Thank you to Mother's Cupboard. Thank you to all of our partners. Thank you to Jason Lucas and Dave Pasiak. Of course, a big time thank you to Cafe Kubal. Go out and find them today in our community. 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, as well as 343 Fayette Street inside of Galisanos Children's Hospital. The Fayette Street location is out in Manlius, and their newest location features their first ever drive-through. That's right, baby. Local coffee's got a drive-through now, and I can get my honey brown sugar chai by sitting in my car and pulling around the building on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, New York. So head out to Cafe Kubal today, and I hope you all have a fantastic day and enjoy all the good stuff. For now, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora wants to say thank you to you and for all that you do in the community to truly help us to become a beautiful place to live and a beautiful place to raise a family, support each other, open businesses, and enjoy life. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Central and Upstate New York. Thank you to everybody that listens up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and around the world. Shout out to my family in Spain. Thank you for tuning in 5 hours ahead of time. And much love to all the aliens, since there's UFOs everywhere. Thank you for picking up the show and listening, and I would like to think that you like it. And if you ever come here, I come in peace. So I'll talk with you all soon, God willing, tomorrow. TGIF tomorrow, Annoying Moment of the Week, Lead Top Dog of the Week, and an awesome conversation coming up with Andre Sisco, as well as Terry Alls. All of it should give you an opportunity to have a positive push into the weekend. So we're here for you. We love you. And as always, I'm praying for you all. And I hope everything works out that you're praying for. So God bless. No stress. Do your best. This is Wake Up Call. And we will talk with you soon.